key may fit one door of a house, but when it fits all doors, it may well claim to be a master key. Such and no less a key is prayer to all earthly problems. And what that means is shifting or moving your attention to the state of the wish fulfilled and dwell in it. So in this video, I want to talk with you about the topic of prayer, right? A word that people from religion usually use to, pray to God, to pray to as they perceive an external entity. But what it actually means, like prayer, is what I just said here, right? It is actually assuming the wish fulfilled. Prayer actually is recognizing that you already are who you want to be. So what this means, how you can do it, how you can apply it for your desires, well, that is all that we're going to cover in this video. So my prediction is that this video is going to be probably around like 20-25 minutes. So again, videos like this require you to keep your attention on the video, right? You can't just watch because you want to have some nuggets and you want to nitpick the information. Please learn, please practice to finish what you started. So once you started to watch a video, to watch it fully so you can actually soak in all the important information. And like I always say, this is not only helping my watch time on YouTube, that's an extremely helpful bonus and side effect so that the channel grows and more people learn about this stuff. That's of course amazing, that's the goal, but I want you to get the most out of this video to really understand this message, okay? So what is prayer? How can you shift? How can you move your attention to the state of the wish fulfilled? Why is this the key? What did Neville have to say about all of this? So with that, let us just dive right in. So praying, right? This word praying, like I said, it's charged with an emotion of, again, praying to an external entity, but let's be open for a new way of seeing what this word could actually mean. So praying is recognizing yourself to be that which you desire to be, rather than begging God for that which you desire. The whole of life is the appeasement of hunger, and now you really have to listen closely, okay? And numberless states of consciousness from which the individual can think and view the world. So in that quote, we have a lot of wisdom, okay? Because first of all, the life, right? The whole world, your life, is the appeasement of hunger. Not physical hunger, that as well, but Neville is speaking here in the context of your spiritual hunger, right? Your desire for growth, your desire to leave the state of consciousness in which you are right now, and you desire to be in a state where you have this, where you are this, or this in your life has changed, right? And as long as it's not there, as long as you don't see this on the outside, well, you have this desire, aka this hunger, right? And what life is appeasing that hunger. But not by waiting and hoping that the world shows us something new. No, by actually appeasing that hunger within ourselves, by experiencing within ourselves the wish fulfilled, right? By praying the right way, by praying so that we know that we already have received it, right? By giving ourselves the wish fulfilled, we appease the hunger, the desire dies, we're calm, and then the outside world will reflect it, right? And there are infinite states from which we can view the world. Your current state, your current circumstances of life, if you can, together with me, zoom out a little bit, this is not absolute. This is not final. This is not set in stone. This is not a concrete hard fact. Yes, there are the facts, but there are facts, and then there's the truth. And the truth is always the internal direction you give your life, and then the outside eventually will catch up with that. Okay? So prayer is the means of satisfying that hunger. Like I said, hunger means desire, right? You right now watch these videos either because you want to learn spiritually, you want to evolve in your spiritual and self-empowerment and manifesting understanding. This is amazing. Or there's also a high likelihood that you watch these videos because you do have some dissatisfaction with your current circumstances. You do have a certain desire. You do have certain things in your 3D world that you don't like, that you don't want to continue. And therefore you want to learn how you can leave that behind and experience your desired circumstances, right? And praying, right, this word, what it actually means is satisfying this internal hunger, this internal desire. I say this because your state of consciousness is always being externalized, right? This is, of course, the premise from which it only makes sense to talk, right? If we just think, we just try to battle against the world and manipulate it, well, then what are we actually doing here? But because we know from experience, from learning about these teachings, and hopefully from your own manifestations, you know that when you imagine it, when you first, made that declaration, made that intention within, then it also showed up on the outside circumstances, right? Our state of consciousness is always being reflected. It's always being externalized. It's always being pushed out eventually, sometimes in a delayed way. And if you know And this is one of my favorite quotes that I sometimes include in other videos. And if you haven't watched the free masterclass, then you can do so. You'll also find this in there. Because what Neville said is, if you know how to move from your present state, from the present state you're in right now, if you dislike it, to the state that you want to externalize, right? If you know how to move to your desired state where things are as you want them to be, where you are who you want to be, because that is what is then going to be externalized, then you have the secret, if you know how to do this inner movement. Well, in this video, I'm going to explain to you how to do this inner movement and what, again, how praying works, but you know by now that it's not getting down on your knees and begging an entity. You can do that, but I doubt that this is actually, how things work from my own experience, because I noticed always when I imagine it, then it came. When I imagine it, then it came. So then the question comes, aren't you maybe God? Aren't you maybe the awareness? Aren't you maybe, this infinite powerful being, and you're one with it? And this is the answer you will find, right? But again, we want to learn how to move. So if you need help with that, you can check out the free masterclass and my program, but you will also find the answers in this video. So learn how to pray, right? Master it and make your world conform to the ideal you want to experience. Stop thinking of your desire and start thinking from your desire. What would it be like if I would right now already have achieved my goal? If I would already be the version of myself that I want to be? To think from the wish fulfilled is to realize that which you will never experience while you're thinking of it. Because thinking of keeps your desire at the distance, keeps it seemingly separate, seemingly at the distance. It is always within you, but you then create this distance between you and your desire. You think it's over there to be achieved, it's in the future to be achieved, instead of thinking from it, where you bring the wish fulfilled in the here and now, in your inner world. And your life can only give you who you are. Your life can only give you what is already alive within yourself. That's why you get who you are, but you don't get what you want. When you put yourself into the state of the wish fulfilled and think from it, you're praying. And in a way, your reasoning mind does not know your wish will become a fact in your world. So again, praying simply means to recognize being who you want to be, already having what you want to have, right? Experiencing the wish as being fulfilled and not hoping. There's an enormous difference between hoping for something and assuming that to be so right now. You can be the man or woman you want to be when you know how to pray. All things are possible to him who believes. Therefore, learn the art of believing and persuade yourself it is true, right? Persuade yourself that you have received your goal. Persuade yourself that you are living in the reality in which you want to live. And how do you do that? Where can you start to believe? Because in the outside world, we usually can't believe just because there is no proof, there is no reason to believe, right? We don't see any facts that prove confirmation that we are who we want to be. But where can you believe? In your imagination, you can start to believe. In your imagination, you can experience something over and over again. And again, translate imagination to your inner world, right? What you dwell on, your mood, your inner state. You can stay there, and then you also start to believe from within, not from without, but you will believe from within because you've dwelled in a certain state. So prayer to the world means begging. Right? Usually praying means hoping, begging someone to give us a certain goal. Most people pray to God to change something in their lives or to give them something they don't have. If their prayers were not answered, they think that God had a reason for withholding that particular thing. Right? So they're in this hopeful state, hope that God is giving them a change in their life, and then when it's not coming, they think, oh, I'm doing something wrong or I'm not deserving it. They think that perhaps God didn't grant their request because he didn't want them to attain the desire for some reason known only to God. Man sometimes thinks that God doesn't answer prayers because man is undeserving of what he seeks. Prayer is the master key. A key may fit one door of a house. It's the quote from the beginning, right? The master key means with that you can open all doors. You can go in all states, right? So if a key fits all doors, then we can call it a master key. Such a no less key is prayer to all earthly problems. What are earthly problems? Well, earthly problems are your human desires. Your desires for that partner. Your desire for that relationship. Your desire for a better financial circumstance in your life. Your desire for a better job. Your desire for a thriving business. Your desire for friends. Your desire for a better lifestyle. Right? All earthly problems that we have. Prayer, aka shifting your awareness, aka imagining to already have achieved the goal, that's the master key that you can utilize to open all doors, right? To shift into all states, which will eventually be like externalized. And please listen closely right now. To enact a scene that would imply the fulfillment of my desire, and then to surrender completely to my Father, for He has the power to externalize it. I do not know how to do it on this level. I haven't the wisdom. I haven't anything on this level to do it. My faith is faith in my Father, faith in His power to externalize what I've done all in imagination. So for me, that is prayer. What is the Father meaning here, right? Well, Father, again, just a word. If you feel that it's too spiritual or too religious, that's fine. But remember, these are just words. What are they pointing to? Well, in this sense, in this context, Father is pointing towards your higher self, your awareness, your consciousness, your beingness that contains all states, that is whole, that is complete, right? Creation is finished, and that creation exists, but it exists within you, within consciousness, within the being, right? I am. And you surrender to that, right? You can't devise the means. You can't devise the way. If you want to manifest something and you imagine the end, well, you will be carried through a bridge. But that bridge isn't been made by you rationally. You will be moved. You will act automatically. You will get impulses. Some call it inspired actions. I don't like that term so much. But you will get impulses that you can't resist. You will do things. You will go places. You will not do things. You will do certain things. You will say things. You will be led across this bridge because you have first placed yourself internally in the end state. So you created something like a vacuum, right? Within you've placed yourself so much and so much and so much into this reality. Externally, you're still here. So with your senses, you still see B, whereas in your inner reality, you're already dwelling in A. But consciousness doesn't really like vacuum. It always wants to close it. And then life will rush to close this vacuum and things will happen so that you eventually end up where you place yourself within first. But that journey you go through, that will be made by the Father. That will be made by, call it your higher self. That's easier, right? Some call it Father. That's why there's also the way of, or manifestation method, where you give thanks to the Father, right? Where you give thanks for your higher self as having already done it for you. As though you address another power, but you're actually not addressing another power. You're addressing a higher portion of yourself that already dwells in the wish fulfilled. So thank you. Thank you that I am there. Thank you. And you trust yourself, right? But again, to enact a scene that implies the fulfillment of my desire, and then surrender completely to my Father. So you enact that scene, you experience that scene. That's you giving your higher self, in a sense, the coordinates on where it should take you. If we speak in, conceptual language here, but you actually enact a scene. This implies a certain state. You awaken a certain state in you, and as we learned earlier, the state we awaken in us through that scene is eventually externalized, is eventually expressed, right? But it's expressed through you, through the I am. Man must learn to believe in that which he does not at the moment see in order to grant himself that which he desires to have. Man must learn to believe in that which he does not at the moment see. So in a moment we don't see our desires, right? But we can start to believe in its reality by imagining that it is already so, right? Man's prayers are always answered, for he always receives that which he believes to be true. The law that governs prayer is impersonal. So it's not that there is an external entity that decides, oh, yeah, you can get more financial resources. You can't get them. If you believe that, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe, I haven't gotten it yet, so it's not meant to be, it's not destined to be, well, then that's how you will perceive it. But it's an impersonal law. Life gives you what you first give yourself. The world gives you what you first give yourself within. Belief is the condition necessary to realize the desire. No amount of pleas or ritual will bring about the fulfillment of your desires other than the belief that you are or have that which you want. Please understand this. Okay, so belief is the only condition on this human level, on the 3D world. Because in consciousness and imagination, if you right now imagine that you have this car, that you have this partner, well, or that you have this money, that you see yourself as a more financially abundant person, well, in imagination, that immediately is a truth. That immediately is there. The moment you imagine it, you can perceive it, that is there. But on this level, it needs belief for that unseen reality to actually express. Right? So by just imagining it once and then dwelling all the time on the opposite, that's not going to lead too much. But if you imagine it and dwell there, belief sets in, faith sets in, conviction sets in, and you will start to trust that you are that. And then that's the binding element, so to speak, right? The belief. And no amount of pleasure ritual will bring about the fulfillment of your desires. Only the belief that you have what you want to have, or that you are who you want to be in the here and now moment. Believe you have received and you will. Now, how do I do it? Right, so we covered a lot of theory right now. We covered a lot of conceptual stuff and all of that, but how do you do it? After watching this video, what can you personally apply? Well, listen carefully, right? It is a simple technique, but it will take practice on your part to master it. But it's simple, right? It might not seem easy, but it's simple, okay? When I have a desire, that's my desire. I know exactly what I want. I'm pointing directly at it. That's my desire. I'm pointing. So, to point the true direction, I'm thinking of it when I have a desire. So, as long as we desire something, we think of it. I desire to have that. I desire to be that. I desire for my life to change in that way. We think of it. We see it separate. We see it at the distance. We hope that this happens. We see the desire as over there. But now I must transform thinking. But now I must transform it from thinking of to thinking from. Thinking of, it's over there. It's then. It's there. It's at a distance. Thinking from, I am it right now. And remember, this is crucial because the mirror of life only gives you, only shows you, only manifests. You will only see in your life surroundings and circumstances what you already are. So if within you keep desiring, you keep hoping that it happens, you keep manipulating your inner world because you really want it to happen in the reality, you're messing it up. Within is the reality. Where you dwell within, that is where you are. So within you need to be it for the sake of being it, and then your mirror can catch up, right? You when you think from it. Now, the word prayer means literally motion towards, accession to, at, or the vicinity of, right? So what we can say about this is that every time you imagine your wishes fulfilled, every time you dwell in the end state, every time you identify yourself as the version that you want to be, having what you want to have, being who you want to be, it's like imagine a spider that spins a web, and it goes in circles, and the web becomes more dense every time the spider goes and the spider goes, and then eventually, at the end, the spider has like a very solid, strong web. Similar to you occupying and shifting into a new state. You do it once, you probably quickly fall out of it. It feels unnatural, and you have to go back to it. But the more you do it, the more you move towards that state, the more you will start to feel comfortable in it, the more you will feel natural in it. Prayer is motion towards. It is learning how to move. So I stand here and I can move towards anything in my world. I move towards a change on the bank balance. That's motion. Any change is motion. I can't see any change that does not include motion, right? So it's an internal motion. What would it be like if, your bank balance would be doubled? Well, that's an inner motion to that reality. That's an inner movement towards that reality. You internally start to feel that mood, what it would be like, right? I change this. That's motion. I move from here to there. That's motion. I go home tonight. That's motion. I change my position relative to where I was. So here, the technique of prayer is mastering this inner motion. How to move, right? It's inner movement. You remember the quote that I shared with you earlier from Neville? If you know how to move from your present state, if you are dissatisfied, if you are not liking the current circumstances, if you know how to move from your present state to the state that you want to externalize, then you have the secret. So all we have to learn is how to move within, how to shift within. And by the way, the free masterclass on my program, the links in the video description, pinned comments can help you to do that, either for free in my free masterclass. We have a brand new masterclass this year. Or if you want personal accountability, then I can also guide you on this inner movement if you want to work with me and join my program. If I could only move this night from where I am, where I'm seeing certain things in my world that I would like to change, to that position that I would occupy after they are changed. Well, after they are changed, how would I see it? Right? So if things are already how you want them to be, if they would be how you want them to be, right now things are not how you want them to be. Things are seemingly stuck. things are undesirable right now, you're dissatisfied. Okay. But if things would be as you want them to be, how would you see the world? What would it be like? What would someone say to you? What would you say to someone? What would you experience? What would be different? Right? Then we can start to think from it. Then we can imagine something that implies we are there. Then we can start to move within. That's a change in motion. So a change, not only a safe change bodily, mentally, and in my estate. I completely move towards the change relative to others in my world, because everything in my world is myself pushed out, right? So again, maybe this slide seems a little bit complicated, but that's why I said in the beginning, we also have to stay through the things we don't understand immediately. It also took me years to put together the whole understanding of Neville, to apply it in my life, to share it with others so that they get results. But what it means is the world is yourself, is wherever you dwell within, pushed out in a delayed way. Okay? And if you want to see the world changing, well, you have to first move within. You have to first be someone new within. So can you place yourself in imagination as any person and dwell in that state as though it were true? That's a question, right? Because like I said in the beginning, on the first slide, if you remember, I said that praying, or that the master key is putting your attention, putting your awareness on a state of the wish fulfilled and dwelling there. Can you do that? Yes. Everyone can do it, because everyone possesses the power of imagining, basically. But most of us are doing it unconsciously. Most of us are doing it unwittingly and in an uncontrolled way. Even though at the moment reason denies it and your senses deny it, you dwell in this state. You sleep in it just as though it were true. This is the art of praying, right? And important is that, again, your reason denies it. Your mind, of course, denies it. It is right now not in your outside world. But you sleep in that state. You dwell in that state. You come back to that state because it does exist. But you dwell in that state as though it were true. There is first no reason to believe it, but what would it be like? And then I dwell in it as though it were true. And I bring myself back to dwell in that state until it becomes my habitual, natural, automatic dwelling place. And I have actually become this version that I wanted to be. Right? This is the art of praying. This is the art of internally moving. So we need a goal. We need clarity, right? We need clarity. We need to have a desire. We need to have it defined. Again, if you need help with that, I can help you with that. But let's just say you have your desire. Then you have to stop desiring and thinking of it. Then you need to move into the desire state and be it right now via any method or way that you resonate with. If you don't know which ways are out there, which way you resonate with, I can also help you with that. But also on my YouTube channel, you find various techniques. And one we just discussed, which is that you enact a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. A scene that implies to you personally that your goal is achieved. And if you also need help with that, with crystallizing a scene that will definitely work for you, we can, of course, also help you in the program, right? So it's not some palaver where you go in and sit down and you get on your knees, and then you may think this is a little bit dusty, and so you brush it off because you don't want soil on your dress, soil on your socks, soil on something else. That's how people pray in church, right? So praying in church means going on the knees, begging an entity. Praying spiritually, or within the teachings of consciousness, within the teachings of the law of assumption, means that you, within yourself, in your inner world, experience your desire as being done, dwelling in a state where you are who you want to be, where you have what you want to have. And you can prove it. That's the fun part. This law can be proven. And there is one, method, or not a method, but an experiment that Neville gave to some of his students where he said, imagine that you climb a ladder, and when you climbed it, then come to the next lecture. And, there were a lot of people who did climb the ladder, who did prove that it works. Others either were too lazy or they didn't do it correctly. But that's also something you can try. You can imagine climbing a ladder up and down, up and down, up and down, and do it for a couple of days, and you will at least start to see ladders. And if you persist and if you don't accept seeing ladders as final, you will eventually also encounter a circumstance where you do climb a ladder. So it can be proven you first did it within, and then you did it without. And the more you do that, the more you see, oh, it worked for the ladder, it worked for the finances, it worked for the health, it worked for the relationship. Well, then you develop more trust in yourself. You feel more bold. You feel more empowered. You feel very powerful, right? And that's the beauty of this law. So these were my summarized sentences, or my summarized quotes, I should better say, of Neville when it comes to praying, shifting within, inner movement. You now know what it is about, right? The world won't move unless you first move within. Inner movement equals external movement, but the inner movement comes first. The external movement usually is then delayed. I first shift within, I first make the decision within, then my world will confirm that inner decision, that inner declaration, right? That inner assumption. All right? So if you want more resources, check out my free masterclass. We have a brand new one this year. Or check out my program if you want to work with me and be surrounded by a like-minded community and a structured system. That is what I can offer. Definitely leave me also your feedback, your comments, your questions in the comments down below. And I look forward to speak to you in the next one. Bye, guys. And please practice this. See you in the next one.